Well, what do we got here? We got the B team. We got the B team tonight.
It looks like before people start dropping off, we're not talking about non-revs right now.
We're not talking about now. We might get into a little bit at the end, but yeah, we're not talking about non-revs right now. We had a little bit of a shake-up at the last minute. We knew Jeff wasn't going to be here tonight. He's on a plane, which is always very good news if you know somebody big is going to commit.
Yep.
He's on a plane. And then Paul was supposed to be doing the show and had a non-threatening last minute family emergency. And I said, well, I guess I can do the show by myself. And I said, but better than that, let's see if we got any replacement level stand-in co-hosts. And sure enough, we did. That's for those people just listening and not watching. That is Tony's headline on the show. I love that. That's very good, by the way.
And I'm sure some people would say I'm below replacement level, but
Well, Paul will, but
he doesn't count.
Paul.
Yeah, he doesn't count.
No, he doesn't count. So one thing that we've been kind of teasing in the thread on the message board is that we were going to make a big announcement tonight. So I'm just going to get right into that announcement. Oh, well, first before that, I'll say 2 guests tonight. It's in the thread title, so you guys will know who it is. We got, first off, we're going to have Colby coming up, Colby Giacubeno coming up in about 10 minutes. We're going to go through the basketball team, all the roster additions. That's going to be fun. After that, we've got Coach Ralph Friedgen. He's going to come and we said 15 minutes, but he talks for a long time, so we'll see. But the reason we have him is because
drum roll.
The past month and a half, I've been working on a project. The first 3 to 4 weeks were by myself. I had this idea to do the all-time Maryland football team 2-deep roster.
Yep.
And I was like, I want Ralph Friedgen to do it with me because who better? He started watching football in the 50s.
Yep.
He played at Maryland in the 60s, was a graduate assistant, late 60s into the 70s,
yep.
Was the offensive coordinator in the 80s under Bobby Ross when they were great.
Yep.
Coached against Maryland for 2 different stints at Georgia Tech. So even when he wasn't there, he was coaching against game planning against Maryland. Then, as you know, 2001 to 2010, head coach, got fired inexplicably. Then in the teens was at Rutgers coaching against Maryland again. He's still friends with Loxley, somewhat of a mentor relationship. They're buddies.
Brought Locks in.
He did 70 years. There is no one better to do the all-time Maryland football team 2-deep.
When we were in Philadelphia for the lacrosse Final Four, for those of you who were there, Larry, we had a chance. Larry was giving me an idea of what this series was, and it's really cool. It's really cool. And you want to see Larry get excited. Watch Larry talking about like doing this because it's pretty cool. It is pretty cool.
Yeah, so just to let everybody know how it's going to work, I spent about 3-4 weeks collecting data, like massive. Everybody knows I love my spreadsheets. I've got a 15-tab spreadsheet. Like, it's crazy. Everything you could think of about Maryland history. And I got Ralph's info from Jeff, and I texted him on a Friday. And as much as you can in a text, said, hey, this is what I want to do. Would you be interested in doing it with me? I think everybody would absolutely love to hear from you. And I didn't hear anything for a few days. It gets to Monday, and I text Jeff, and I'm like, hey, he hasn't responded. Like, do you want to maybe? I thought he would because he's always very responsive when we talk to him.
Right.
And just like, yeah, I'll talk to him. Next thing I know, he didn't text me back. He called me. I didn't realize it. Yeah.
What's that like, though? What's that like? You answer it, and it's like, hey, it's
no.
Ralph.
He left a message.
Oh, wow.
And so for 3 days, I left it hanging, and I was like, fuck. So sorry, I get in trouble for that. CBS literally, they came at me for that. Maybe I shouldn't even have said that if they hear that. Don't listen. Hopefully they didn't hear that. All right. So
it gets a message. He leaves you a message.
I get the message, and it said to call him back, so I did. And he's like, I was like, hey, coach, this is Larry France. I texted you last Friday. I didn't realize you called me back. He's like, yeah, I called you 3 days ago. And I was like, and I was like, I'm really sorry. It was my kid's last weekend of college. Which is true, all true. It was, and I was like, I didn't realize that you'd call. Anyway, so we start talking, and I tell him what I want to do, and he starts asking about the time commitment, and I was like, well, what I really want to do is a 5-part series. We'll reveal 2 position groups per episode. But if you don't have that kind of time, we can maybe do 2. We'll do offense in one, we'll do defense in the other. And he's like, if we're doing this, we're doing it right. And I was like, let's go.
But not only that, Larry, like the prep, like you were doing more behind the scenes with him too, right? Like as you all were, right? So how much fun was that?
So we get started. He's like, first of all, we can't do 2 deep. We got to do at least 3. So we actually have first, second, and third team all time.
Wow.
And an underrated player. That was my suggestion all along. So we got first team, second team, third team, and an underrated player from every position.
Right.
And honorable mentions from every position. And while we're going, he'd be like, Larry, you have this player, and he was not an offensive lineman, he's a linebacker. And I was like, oh, because like in the 50s, they would just call somebody a guard.
Yeah.
He was a defensive guard. Like, it's like, oh, okay, yeah, thanks. So, and it was endless. And I'm like, now I know why he won and why everybody runs through walls for this guy.
Yeah,
He did this a couple of times. And I was like, I do not want a single mistake on these presentations because, like, I don't want, like, I was like, and there's still a few leaked in. And you'll see, like, there's a couple of like typos, like I wrote third all time instead of fourth, and things like that.
Right.
And but it doesn't matter.
What's that like for you though, right? Like you're a lifelong Maryland fan. You've been watching, them, the Terps play forever. And Ralph, top 3 coach in the history of Maryland football, right? Maybe 4. It depends on who you want, how you count Curly Bird. But what's that like for you as like a fan? Now you're someone who's been kind of, doing stuff and getting to know the athletic department a little better. What's that like for you going through all that?
Absolute insanity. Like, and when he said, if we're going to do this, we're going to do it right. We had 2 sessions, each an hour and a half long, just to pick the team.
Wow.
We spent 3 hours
just together, you and Ralph, just
me and Ralph. It's freaking crazy.
Well, that's why you are his best friend. I mean,
yeah, that's my headline is Ralph Friedgen's best friend. And at one point, Gloria came on for about 30 minutes. And she started talking about the Hall of Fame. Yeah. And can you help Ralph get in the Hall of Fame? And he was like, I didn't want to talk. He's like, he felt like embarrassed.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, give me the info. And I ended up, Gloria and his daughter Katie are really kind of pushing it. So I've had conversations with Katie, and I posted a thread on the board about how people can help get him elected to the Hall of Fame. You can literally register to be one of the voting members.
Oh, nice.
So people, you can do that. I posted it on the message board. And so just go see that. Just go check that out. And you can help him get elected. He's going up against Nick Saban and Urban Meyer this year.
Hey, those guys are chumps.
Yeah.
Come on. But look, Ralph did more with less. Come on.
That's the argument, right, of the situation. But here's the thing. So this is going to sound kind of cheesy, but like it kind of became this like love letter to Maryland football history.
Yeah.
And like it's cool that we went through all this, and seeing the people listed in their teams and all that is really cool. But what's even cooler is that as we were, this became a vehicle for him to tell stories.
Yeah.
And he just goes, and I would just let him go, and he would tell the most insane stories. I wrote down a couple of teasers for you guys. He talked about a coach where the players literally revolted against the coach. Not maybe who you think it is, by the way, too. A player, while he was coaching, a player punched him in the face. He tells the story. He tells the story of a guy who jumped out of the 3rd story of Ellicott Hall and lived, didn't get hurt.
That wasn't SVP, right?
Not SVP. He tells a play. I'm trying to think. He he got fired on a Wednesday and went on an in-home visit and got someone to commit to Maryland.
Oh, wow.
Like it's just, and the last story he told was the most insane of all. Like I'm not even. I told you the story
Yeah,
beforehand
yeah, you
because
did.
it's so
I know.
freaking.
It's crazy.
It is insane. So there's a 5-part series, 2 position groups per episode.
How
The
long is each
last
episode? How long is each episode?
they range from like 38 to 50
Oh,
minutes.
all right.
Each one. We do 2 position groups per episode. The last one is special teams and coaches,
Right.
which is hilarious. Talking about the coaches with
Oh,
Ralph. But at the end, I thought it was done, and we organically, randomly dump into another story, and it's the best story of the entire thing. It is insane,
so
insane.
quick
I
question.
can Yes,
Was like, do you get Ralph unfiltered when he's talking about the coaching rankings? You know what I mean?
yes.
Because like, what does he have
Yes.
to
So
lose now, right? Like, he's a legend. Like, you know.
yeah, we got Colby coming up 1 minute,
Yeah.
and I'm just gonna let him in. Colby's here with us. Colby, we're finished. We're talking about Ralph Friedgen. Give me 1 more minute to finish that up before I get to you. Uh, so when we were picking the team, we had those 3 hours. He knew that we were off, and I told him this is all off the record. There were stories he told me then
Yeah.
that didn't make, and I'm not allowed to publicly talk about
That's great.
this. There were stories he said, you can't tell anybody this. He's like, I'm gonna get in trouble. It's like, it's just me, coach. Come on. It's just me. Like, it was crazy. It was unbelievable. Anyway, we've got Colby with us. Colby, I'm hearing some kind of radio or something.
Let me try to turn everything down. Good.
There we go. Yeah, can you hear us?
Yep, I can hear you guys.
Hey, Colby, I know you were crazy busy tonight. What are you doing again? You're at some
I
event, right?
I help run the summer league up here at Loyola Blake Field up here in Towson. Just quick little thing before the high school live period. So just got a bunch of teams from the area playing in that.
That's Colby's wheelhouse, scouting. He loves that. He would do that. He would do that for free. Don't say that in front of Jeff. He would just. That's how he spend all his time. That's how he spend all his time, just like watching high school hoops, evaluating hoops. That's what you would do, isn't it? I know it is. That's what
Yeah,
he loves.
definitely. My free days are over with.
Yeah. And this is Colby Giacubeno. I got it correctly,
Perfect.
didn't I?
There you go.
Boom! Colby Giacubeno, like Beano Cook. That's how I always remember it. Colby Giacubeno. We have the B team with us tonight, Colby. Sorry about that. No
My
Palmer, Jeff.
apologies, Colby.
We got Wheels with us.
Come on now, we'll make it work. We'll make it work.
We'll make it work. Hey, so everybody's kind of excited about the team and the additions this past year. Most of it was portal additions, just the one. Well, there's 2 high school recruits, but one expected to start and can make big contributions immediately. What do you make of? It's been kind of chaos, kind of settled down the chaos for us.
Yeah, I mean, I think when you look at the roster as a whole, just to kind of like summarize it, obviously you lose valuable pieces from last year, and you're scrambling, how are they going to replace that? I think they did an excellent job in the transfer portal. I mean, they're not out getting these former 5-star recruits who maybe didn't find a home or a fit at their last school, but what they're finding is a lot of the style of play that Kevin Willard wants to infuse, and really, after a few years here, you're kind of looking at the third year as being the year where we get some real results. And I think now in the atmosphere, or in the landscape that we're in now, there's really no excuse, because we've seen so many teams turn over just by way of the transfer portal now and be successful, getting a bunch of new guys, being able to infuse them into the system, make them mesh, and see success. I say all that to say I think this year's roster is a lot more deeper, and more capable at more positions. I think there's going to be a lot of flexibility within the lineups and rotations that Willard and company want to use. Whereas in last year, you didn't have much wiggle room for anything, and if one guy went down, there was a massive hole to be filled. So overall, bird's eye view, I think I think this roster is definitely set up for more success than last season, if I had to say.
Do you think, Colby, Maryland fans are always hoping, I think, to see a little more tempo and pace. Is that in Willard's, kind of bag at some point that he might increase the tempo a bit, or is it really just going to be a lot? Is his style really always defense first? Really take care of that side of the court, and then kind of turn the game a little more into a grind.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think he's going to turn away from what he's, always hung his hat on, and that's getting after you on the defensive end. Now, I mean, I think last year, you know, just with the lack of playmaking from the point of attack, other than the key guys who are obvious, he kind of had, and this is just me talking off assumption. You kind of just had to scrap a lot of things, go to a lot of high ball screen actions, and hope that something would happen. They run that 3-man weave action up at the top of the key a bunch as well, just to kind of get things initiated. I think this year's roster offers a lot more, again, like creativity and a lot more skilled guards throughout the roster. Jacoby Gillespie, obviously he was a kid, at Belmont last year, made a lot of good things happen out in the open floor. And he does that with, really good end-to-end speed. And he's also really good at absorbing contact on his way to the bucket. But he's obviously not a tunnel vision scorer. He can definitely make guys better around him. I think a guy like Rodney Rice, who is obviously surfacing back from when he was a freshman at Virginia Tech, kind of got lost in the shuffle with just injury stuff and whatnot. For those who were around the scene locally when he was a senior at DeMatha, I think where he improved a lot was just his decision making as a playmaker. He had to play point guard his senior season at DeMatha, and I was really impressed. Just kind of because you always expected Rodney to score the ball. That's what he does. But just his ability to break down the defense, operating off the bounce and then making those good decisions, those quick split-second decisions in the fast break. That doesn't mean, him getting up to the three-point line or the free throw line, having the defender commit, and then making that obvious pass. I'm talking about the little things such as he gets the outlet from the big and immediately throws it up the court for an advanced pass that leads to an easy bucket. So I think you have flexibility with him. I've heard nothing but good things in regards to Selton Miguel in early workouts. I hear he's scoring the crap out of the ball. So, really good feedback there from him. Also, and I know we'll, kind of dig into certain specifics here, while we're doing the show, but also getting a lot of Malachi Palmer playing a lot better than people were expecting. So
Nice.
That's all good news as well. Now, I remind you, when was the last time there was bad news coming out of summer workouts, right? But you like to hear that kind of stuff. Whereas I will say that I hear from teams or whatnot to take a freshman or take a transfer. Man, we were really expecting him to hit the ground running, and he's just not there yet. And that's not, what I've really heard out of that front.
Hey, Colby, we got a few people in the chat room asking us about the 2025 recruiting class. Can you just give a quick overview? Who are the top guys they're looking at, that kind of thing?
Yeah. So, I mean, I know as well, like I've kind of been MIA, if you will, in terms of the write-ups on the site. And I think it's just because the staff, they've obviously been out recruiting during the live periods. There's limited live periods. This next month is going to be huge in terms of them, getting real momentum towards some key names that are in the backyard. However, guys like a Caden Lewis, guys like Cam Ward, guys like Jordan Scott, guys who are high on their board, they're down there shining at MBPA top 100 camp. And what that means is now Maryland had staff members down there as well, so they were there front and center, but also were the Blue Bloods. Caden was a guy that, Maryland was always interested in, but they started getting on a little bit. I'm not even going to say later than others, because a lot of these other schools are late, in my opinion, to the party. But I mean, he just got North Carolina today. Kentucky's starting to pick up. So you kind of see where that's going. I know Indiana's going to be all over him, Tennessee, like you name it. There's going to be schools that are lined up for a Caden. Cam, I think, Maryland will have a good chance at them if they really ramp up their efforts in that realm, because like losing Mike Jones, a little bit of a hit there in terms of that recruitment. Another guy, Jordan Scott, like I thought he was a very heavy Michigan State lean, but that hasn't happened yet. And there's a reason why that hasn't happened yet. So I think despite maybe some rumors of him, being off the board, if you will. I think he's still very available, and I think Maryland stands a really good chance of getting him as well. That's just to name, a trio of guys.
And I'll just let you guys know we got Coach Ralph coming up in just a couple minutes. Tony, you got one more for Colby before we let him get to his camp?
I want to know, Chance Stevens coming back from the knee injury, and I know, you'd said some things earlier. I know Jeff's posted some stuff about him looking good and shooting well. What have you been hearing? Because the 3-point shooting last year was really, really a problem,
Yeah.
right?
Yep, and I've been hearing the same about it. I think the reviews that I'm getting back, and Jeff is probably getting these more on a regular basis than I, but he's shooting the ball well, which equals floor spacing, which God knows the team needs it. But also, again, that little caveat of how quickly Selton Miguel is just picking everything up and just really asserting himself as a scorer is going to make life a lot easier for everybody else. I think that floor spacing is going to be critical this year for this team in particular, especially if they plan to play a Julian Reese, Derek Queen front court. You're going to need all the floor spacing that you can get. So, yes, but I've gotten good reports from Chance and how he's shooting it. Looks good. The biggest thing with a guy like that coming off an injury like that is confidence and mentally. And I heard that there's not that many obstacles that he's dealing with right now, other than just getting his rhythm back, which is anything when you just stop playing a sport, for however long. You just got to get your rhythm and groove back.
Right. Colby, I'm going to ask you one more thing before we let you go. You got, tell us what your prediction is for next year, sort of a regular season kind of, and then what do you think they're going to do in the postseason?
I think they improve on their record from this year, which is not, I don't think that's like too hot of a take. And I think that I think they're just there for the tournament. I really like this group that they have. And I think that if they can make it work from a cohesion standpoint on the floor, I don't see why they don't have a chance of making it to March Madness.
Okay. So that sounds like a first, second round type team in the national.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
I would say you would be happy with the combination of youth, new faces, and still like really infusing the system that Willard is infusing. I think we should be happy with a second round appearance.
Happy with a second round appearance. It reminds me of a saying from about the year 2010. We had a football coach named Ralph Friedgen, who's going to be joining us in a minute. And we had an AD named Kevin Anderson who said, we're going to go from good to great. I don't even know if you remember this, Colby. Good to great, he said. That did not work out. You had Mark Turgeon, who was good, but not great and not good enough. Are we repeating history here? What's going on?
Well, listen, I was setting you up to Trent and setting the stage for Ralph, and I just did that. You could have just cut me off the screen, brought him in. There you go.
That is exactly what we're going to do right now. Thank you so much, Colby. We will see you next time, and we are going to remove Colby. Bye-bye, and we're going to add the star of the show. There he is, Mr. Coach Ralph Friedgen. How are you doing?
Where was Colby in 2010?
Coach, I feel like I spent my last month talking with you. We spent a lot of time together.
A lot of people feel that way when they talk to me.
Well, it was amazing. We've already made the announcement about the upcoming series, the 5-part series. We've already recorded all of it, and the videos are prepped and ready. We're going to start releasing them on next Monday. And I don't know. Do you have anything to say about it to kind of excite people about the series?
Don't tell anybody my telephone number. Or my email.
I will. I promise you. And I promise you I will not tell anybody those off-the-record stories either. There were a few of those good ones, but all the ones that did make the show, man, and especially the last one. Remember the very last story? That was... I've teased that a little bit. So everybody, you got to watch the entire thing to get to the last episode, the last 10 minutes. That was a killer.
Come to Thanksgiving dinner with us.
Yes, he tells the story at Thanksgiving every year. So
on demand.
Yes, on demand from his family. Well, Coach, hey, thank you for joining us. like I said, we made the announcement, and people are already kind of talking about. We see people in the chat; they're excited to see you. So how you been doing? You know, in the past few years, you haven't been coaching since Rutgers, right? So that's been a while now. How's life going right now for you?
Well, I have this neuropathy, and it's really hindering my walking. I still work out twice a week, but it's my whole left leg is totally numb. I've had 2 operations, and after the second one, it got worse. So, on top of that, my back's been killing me. But other than that, I'm doing good.
Other than that, yeah.
Well, Coach Larry mentioned your stint at Rutgers, and I want to ask you a little bit of a game day kind of question about that time that you coached against Maryland as Rutgers offensive coordinator. I was talking to Larry about this.
What are you doing here? You bringing up the game where he beat us?
But I want to know how he thinks. I want to know how he processed this, right?
All right.
I mean, Coach, you were known as one of the greatest play callers in college football. So here you are. What did you see in Maryland's defense where you kept hitting that same corner route? The safety can't get over, the corner can't get back. There must have been 3 or 4 touchdown passes. Was that something you saw pregame? Was it something you prepped for? Do you remember just running it and then it just worked and you just kept hammering it because Maryland couldn't stop it?
I'm trying to remember the receiver we had at Rutgers. It was a pretty good receiver, and Nova went to high school with him too. I have so many kids that I have trouble remembering names.
But you know exactly the play I'm talking about.
Oh yeah, in fact, Ben McDaniels, he actually told me on the last touchdown that they were doubling. I wish it'll come to me. I know, but so I ran the same route, but I ran it with a different guy. And ironically, I had told Patterson. Patterson was the kid I told him early in the week that he had to come up big because I knew how they were going to play the other kid. And then we were in a bunch set, and Ben says to me, Ralph, they're doubling. So I just sent him on a crossing route, which took 2 guys with him, and then we were one-on-one. But, I had good coaches that gave me good info, which is always key. I thought we were moving the ball pretty good in the first half. We just kept dropping passes and missing a throw, and at halftime I just said, look, my girls, they think I go crazy at halftime, but I didn't do that anymore. I was too old for that. But I said, look, we're just leaving a lot of plays out there. And I said, we're either going to get beat real bad this game, or we're going to win this game, because I'm just going to put it all out there in the second half. And we ran the kickoff back, got some momentum, and then from there on we played a lot better the second half.
And the rest is history.
I hated that game, Coach, but man, it showed your play calling, man. I remember it to this day.
Yeah. Speaking of games where, Coach, you beat Maryland really badly, if we're doing this, I was at a game. It was the late 90s, and Georgia Tech, you came to Maryland.
Right.
And I remember being there. It was raining. There were by the second half, there were about 5,000 people, if that, in the stands. And you guys won something like 35 to nothing. Do you remember this game where you just?
I don't remember it raining, but that doesn't mean anything. But I think it was 19. It was 2000. I think the game was, because
it could have been. Yeah,
it was Maryland's last game, and Coach Vanderlyn came up to me before the game during workouts, during our team warmups, and started going over the whole Maryland team with me. And I didn't know what the hell he was doing, because I didn't have any idea that he was in trouble or anything.
Well, no wonder you won. He gave me the game plan.
Well, no, he didn't give me the game plan. He was just, I really had to tell him, look, I gotta go warm these guys up. I can't just sit here and talk with you. But and all the coaches were looking at us, and so, and I was upset with Maryland when they didn't hire me after we had been to the Super Bowl, And when they hired Coach Van Allen, and he was always good to me. I never had a problem with Coach Van Allen, and I never talked bad about him. You know what? It is what it is. But when I went back to Georgia Tech, I had a deal with George O'Leary that I could name the score against Maryland. And so I remember this game because we parked the bus by the old team house, and I'm getting off the bus, and Bunk Carter, who was Lewis Carter's brother, who was took care of the fields. He took care of the fields when I played there. That's how long I know Bunk. And when I got off the bus, and Bunk said, "Take it easy on us today, Ralph," and I said, "Not today, Bunk. I'm going to beat the you know what out of you." So we get up. We scored quite a bit the first half, and we had deferred the kickoff, so we were going to get the ball the second half. And George elected to kick off the second half, so we kicked off both halves. So I'm saying, "Hey, what the hell's going on?" And he says, "Oh, get the ball the fourth quarter." I said, "This is going to be over in the third quarter." I said, so I don't know if he knew something that I didn't know. So, Maryland scored late in the game, and we're walking off the field. And I remember Ansley Williams is a good friend of mine from Savannah. He always traveled with us. And they start singing the fight song or playing the fight song. So I start singing it. He goes, "What the hell are you doing?" I said, "That's my fight song, I mean, I went to school here, He said,
yeah.
I said, I sing the Ramblin' Wreck too, so don't worry about it. But and then Sunday we had to play Georgia after that, which was always a big game for us. And I was breaking Georgia down on Sunday night, and George O'Leary came in my office and said that Debbie Yao had called and they want to talk to you. And he says, I said, "Well, I've been down that road before, so don't worry about it." So he said, "I don't want you talking to him this week." I said, "You can talk to him after we play Georgia." So my agent was talking, I guess, to Debbie, and he called me Tuesday of that week and said they were looking for a head coach. He said, "So I pulled your name out." I said, "No, that's okay. I'm not worried about that." And then she called me on Thursday, personally I was still there late on a Thursday, and she said, "Do you are you interested in the job?" I said, "Look, I don't need you pulling my chain here. I've been down this road before. If you're interested, I'm interested in talking to you." She said, "Well, I want to interview you Sunday." I said, "Where do you want to do that?" She said, "I'm going to fly to Atlanta. I'll talk to you at the Marriott, Airport Marriott." So she said, "What time can we do it?" I said, "Well, I got to grade the film." So after the Georgia game, I said, about 2:00. So I went over there about 2:00, and I think the interview went longer than I had a driver to the airport. She was going to miss the plane. So and then the next thing I know, I was going up to Maryland the next day with my wife. And when I got home, there was the only people that knew about this was O'Leary, my wife, and my cousin who was staying with me for the Georgia game. I come home, and George Matthews, who was a big donor at the Georgia Tech, he's sitting in my living room, and he says, "We want you to stay at Georgia Tech." He said, "I'll pay you whatever they're paying you. I'll give you a suite in the stands, and you can use my private plane anytime you want." And I said, "Mr. Matthews, that's very generous, but this is really not about money. It's about an opportunity." So he left there and got in a car accident, which I learned later, but he was fine. But George, he wanted to fly me up to Maryland. He said, "No, you let Maryland fly you up there." So and then the whole thing went down real quick after that. But I had no idea. That was the last thing on my mind, was thinking about Maryland, to be honest with you.
Well, what you guys just saw is what the 5-part series is just like. We go player by player, and Coach, he's telling those stories, and they're amazing. You get all the Maryland historical stuff. You get the funny quips. You get little insights into things. That's amazing, Coach.
Coach, how much fun was it to sit and reflect and create? What was it, Larry? A 3 deep plus honorable mention. How much fun was that to do?
Three
Say what now?
first, three deep and underrated and honorable mention.
How much fun was it for you to, to think back, to look, to create an all-time?
Just reminded me how old I am.
Ah,
Yeah. And you know what? I think to be honest with you, I think it's a very, very hard to compare people from different eras. It's just that it's a different game today than it was when I was coaching there. It's just, what I kind of try to make as a main theme for me anyway. I don't know how Larry felt about it, but when I had a question, because a lot of times you could hard to separate people, and in my mind, I would say, how much did this guy help win games? To me, that's the big stat. To me, you can have great stats, but if you don't win games, to me, it's not as beneficial as it could be. So, and I probably missed a few, and probably a lot of people disagree with me. And if there anything, I'm probably biased to a lot of my players because I knew them very well, and I'm very grateful for how they played in an unbelievable, situation. I mean, I came into a job that I hadn't won in 15 years. I hadn't won since I left, in '86 with Coach Ross. And then first year, we go and win the ACC championship. And I think we were, 8th or 9th in the country that year. And I did it with a bunch of kids that were, they set their goal to win 6 games because they wanted to go to a bowl game. And I was just totally crushed by that. I mean, I never had a goal of 6 games in my life, it's just, but I worked them extremely hard, and we had 24 periods every day, every practice, and they never bitched or moaned. They did the job. I know they probably weren't happy at times, but once they started winning and they liked that, they got better and better and better. And yeah, what I ended up realizing, especially doing this football by Friedgen and watching these things from a whole different perspective, is I was very blessed to have kids, not only that they were good players, but they wanted to pay the price to be good. They were willing to give up things that they hadn't done in the past. Winning was very, very important to them. And, when I look back on the whole thing, and, I tried 3 times to get the head job at Maryland. It probably wasn't my time. I think the good Lord was looking out for me to be at Maryland at the right time with the right kids and able to hire the right coaches. And, the support I got, especially early, was unbelievable, and couldn't have done it without all of that. And it just, it just kind of made my life, to be honest with you.
Yeah. Well, Coach, we're all very thankful it worked out that 3rd time too. And if people do say that you're biased about your eras, well, what I've got to say in response to that is that every time you were at the school, were the best eras in history with the best players and the most accolades. Like, it's hard to argue with that. The 2000s, the aughts, and the early 80s are 2 of the best periods. Obviously, there's a Claiborne era and the Tatum era too, but those are the best eras.
The thing I worry about, Larry, I see Maryland, even right now, they got a lot of really good athletes. But with this whole new deal with the transfer portal and the NIL, it makes you want to be an I person, not a we person. Right. And if you're going to be a good team, you have to not worry about what's in it for me. You have to worry about what's in it for we. And it's a difference there. And that's why those kids are tight for the rest of their lives, because of the relationships. Football there's no phonies in football, especially in the offensive line, because what the guy did to you. You can't lie about, well, I got my job done. The guy next to you knows whether you got your job done or not, and then when everybody looks at the film, they know who got their job done, who didn't. So it's, and I think it's the same way in basketball. I think the teams, I follow Rick Pitino a lot. I had a weird experience. I flew back from California to do a clinic, and he ended up sitting in the seat next to me, and we talked for the whole time. I was trying to do my clinic talk, but we end up talking. And so I kind of follow him, but he's saying how hard it is to build a culture, to get kids together because you got them for a year and they're out. And I would think the job today is really, really hard.
Coach, do you think the portal or the NIL? I mean, I know they're linked, right? But from a coaching perspective and a culture building perspective, do you think one is kind of more detrimental of the two? Is it the portal that's really, really the problem, just the free player movement, or is it really the NIL can destroy the take the we into the I?
Well, I think they're connected, but it's a good question. The thing I don't like about the portal is that if you go through spring practice and then a guy leaves after spring practice, who the heck's on your team? How do you recruit? How do you kind of putting your team together and then guys leave? To me, they should go back to, unless the head coach leaves. If the head coach leaves, the kid should be able to leave too. If it doesn't, he has to sit out a year. There has to be something where and then I think, I guess they've cut it down. I guess it's 30 days after spring practice, but that's still too long, and I don't know how. I think everybody laughs because they know how I am. It used to really irritate me if I lost a kid who decommitted right there. I'd want to kill somebody, but I can imagine how it is now. I mean, it's strictly cash and carry. I talk to different coaches all the time, and if you don't pay me this, I'm going to go in the portal. And then on the other hand, coaches use it too to cull their team.
Yep.
The guy isn't what he wants. The guys tell him to go in the portal. So how do you build? I mean, it doesn't go a week that goes by that I don't get one or two phone calls from my ex-players. So I'm still in touch with them even now, and I hadn't coached them in 10, 12 years, 14 years, whatever it is. I mean, and it goes back as kids call me that I coached at Maryland as a freshman team. Dave Fasaggio just called me last week. I mean, I hadn't coached him in 30-something years, and he's still calling me. So, and parents too. So you must have made some connection with those kids,
Yeah.
And I think you're losing that right now myself. At least the coaches are telling me that.
Well, we've talked about that too, even as fans. One of the cool parts of college as opposed to pros is that you kind of watch a kid come in and they develop over the course of 4 years, and you're really rooting for that kid to kind of improve, and you're kind of living it with them in a way, and a lot of that's gone. So
I can tell you a story. I went to the NFL, and I love the NFL as far as competition goes. I was the first coordinator in the NFL, first year coordinator that went to the Super Bowl with a team. Yeah. But as much as I love the playoffs, there seemed to be something missing. And when I went back to Georgia Tech, we had this kid, Covington, and he was a tight end on our national championship team. And he hated my guts. He thought I was a terrible play caller. I called him in. I showed him what I go to, how I call a play. I just don't pick it out in the air. And when I came back, he was the academic counselor at Georgia Tech. So whenever I go into a place, Maryland, whatever it was, I always sit down with the kid for however long it takes, an hour, 45 minutes. I want to know his background, what's his parents like. I think you have to know all of that and be able to coach a kid. And you don't coach every kid the same. You may hold them to discipline the same, but everybody has their motivational buttons that you need to know how to push and how not to push. So the kids come in and they tell me, Mr. Covington says, you're just the guy we needed here, and blah, 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 blah. And I said, I got to go up and see Covington. What the hell is he talking about? So I said to him, what are you telling these kids? I said, you used to hate my guts. You couldn't stand me. He said, Coach, after you left, I realized a whole lot of things that you did that were for my benefit. And I was too young to understand that. And that's when it hit me that you don't have that in pro football. In pro football, they're all grown up. You're not going to change who they are as people. If you can make them a better football player, you have their attention. if you can't make them a better football player, you're going to have a tough time with them. They don't want to hear you, because making them a better player makes them more money, and that's what they're thinking. And college, it's like raising your children. You take them in at 18 years old, and they may leave at 21, 22 years old, and you can see those kids mature all the time. So that was the hook for me. I could have gone back to the pros, and I didn't, because I love coaching the kids, and maybe because I have 3 daughters, but I looked at them as my sons.
Yeah. Well, the guy coaching right now, Mike Loxley, he's done it similar, obviously not in as dramatic a fashion as you did turning around a program, but Coach Loxley has turned the program around. He's been there 5 seasons. The second one was COVID, which was, an asterisk, but the last 3 have been really good. They're steadily increasing the wins. They're increasing the depth of the team. 3 straight bowl victories. The outlook is pretty good right now. Wouldn't you agree?
I think Mike's doing a great job. I talked to Mike quite a bit during the season. The thing I'm concerned about with Mike right now, and just knowing the Maryland situation, Mike's a very good coach, okay, and he's probably even a better recruiter. But when you take that out of it, what you're paying these kids is what they're going for. They're not going for. Maryland's got the facilities now. Maryland is on par academically with everybody now. All of a sudden, now, it's you don't have the same donors at Maryland that you have at these other schools that he's got to beat, and that's what I'm concerned about right now. And I think the job gets a lot tougher because of that. Now, Mike he's relentless as a recruiter, and he's really a very sound football coach, and I recommend him to Nick Saban, and I want to see Mike be successful. I've told him I told him preparing for bowl games at Maryland is different than other places, and I told him what I did, and I think he's followed some of that stuff. But I learned my first. I blame myself for losing the Orange Bowl. Not that Florida wasn't better than us, but I didn't help in 2 situations. I could have. I went 2-a-days because we would have done that at Georgia Tech, and I know I talked to Bob Stoops, who was at Oklahoma, and they played in the Orange Bowl before us, and he did that, and I probably shouldn't have done that. I practiced during exams. I shouldn't have done that. They didn't do good in the exams. They didn't do good on the field. And so I learned from that. Next year I didn't do that, and we won after that. And we, the only time we lost was when we went out to California, and I think we got screwed a little bit in that game. But that's neither here nor there. But so you had to learn that Maryland's exam schedule comes a little earlier than most, and it gets right in the way. So, but I told Mike, if you looked at the last game, the Auburn game, Maryland was so much better prepared than Auburn. It wasn't even close.
Yeah.
The fact that Mike got a chance to play 2 quarterbacks there, which gave those kids experience, a lot of pluses going into the season. And, he'll figure it out. He's a very sharp guy.
And you are the all-time leader in victories, 5 bowl victories in Maryland. First, the only coach to do that. Loxley's in second with 3. So he might catch you. He might catch you.
You got to get into those good bowl games. So
yeah, he does. But we hope he catches you and goes past you. We have to hope for that.
I'm just trying to motivate. That's
well, maybe maybe what we'll try to do, we'll have an episode where you and him are on, and we'll let you guys just go live. Everybody can watch you motivate Coach Loxley. How about that? I think people would like that.
I want to know what's he's eating these days. I gotta eat some of that.
Oh, because he lost weight, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna tell him I lost 100 pounds and went 2-10, so you better be careful.
The more weight, the more victories. And hey, man,
I don't know.
Yeah. Well, look, Coach. Hey, thank you so much for coming tonight and helping to promote the series. Again, that's going to start on Monday night. The first episode is quarterbacks and running backs. And I don't know if you saw, I don't know if you know, I've been talking with your daughter a little bit. We've been emailing back and forth about your nomination for the College Football Hall of Fame, and I know you hate talking about this, but I'm going to make you talk about it a little bit anyway. I know you're uncomfortable, but we posted a thread on the board. We're trying to get people to chip in because you can actually join and actually vote. And so we're trying to get people. So we're trying to help you out there, Coach. It'd be pretty cool if you made it.
I appreciate that very much. And, that would be something special for me. I don't really get too involved in awards. In 2001, I think I won every National Coaching Award but one. And I was so tired of going to those damn banquets. I hate banquets. It was the Bear Bryant Award. And I said, can my wife go in my place? And they said no, and they gave it to Larry Coker. So, and now Larry's up for that Hall of Fame also. But Urban Meyer's there. So is Nick Saban. So, I need all the help I can get,
Yeah. Well, that's what we're going to try and do. We're trying to promote it, get people, all the Maryland fans to help you out. So
I appreciate that very
all
much.
right. Coach, thank you so
hello
much.
To everybody in Terpland, okay?
We will. Everybody loves hearing from you, and they're gonna get to see you in these 5 episodes coming up. And then when we get to football season, love to have you back and dissect the team and all that kind of stuff too. So
okay, I'll be glad.
All right.
All right.
You're the best, Coach.
Thanks,
Thank
Coach.
You.
Yep.
That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool, huh?
So listen. That's exactly what it was like doing the series with him. We'd say, all right, the first team quarterback is Tony Wheeler. He played from 1966 to 1968. And then it would be like this crazy story, and it'd be like, holy crap. Like every story was like blowing your mind. Like I told you, like I teased to some of the stories. It was amazing. If you have any affinity at all for Maryland football, even the tiniest smidge, you have got to watch this. It was incredible. He's amazing. He is just he is the treasure trove of Maryland football history. If you have any interest at all, you got to watch it, man, because it was unbelievable.
Larry, you're lucky, because I was going to ask him if he followed lacrosse when he was at Maryland, but then I thought everyone would then go.
Yeah, I doubt it. I doubt it, unless one of his players was trying to be a 2-sport athlete. And
Well,
then
he
he's
had
like, no.
one. I believe
Oh,
he
he
had
did?
one. Yeah. And now I'm blanking on his name. Transferred from Notre Dame. Played lacrosse, and he was a tight end. Oh God, I can't believe I'm blanking on his name. But I'm pretty sure he was during Ralph's era.
The only tight end I can remember from his era right now, off the top of my head, is Vernon Davis, who was an absolute he did not play lacrosse. He was a monster football player. So, okay, how do we follow up Coach Ralph Friedgen other than to talk about some non-revenue sports?
Now everyone leaves.
Now everyone's going to leave the chat. Yeah, so everything's over. We're in the June. It is truly the off season now. All the sports are done.
Yeah, and there's the softball team, started out hot. They fade down the stretch. Big Ten softball is tough. The baseball team, their fade down the stretch really shocked. It was really shocking.
Yeah.
They also, I want to say, they had 5 or 6 players, freshmen, hit the portal this year. So there's a bunch of Terp baseball players that hit the portal. Same story with lacrosse. They had 4 guys hit the portal. One big name, of course, is Eric Molliver.
We had him on the show, Trader.
We did.
What's up, Eric? What's up?
He hit the portal within, they were not far out from that after the title game before he hit the portal. And there you go, Larry. Nice.
There we go.
And he committed to Duke. So not only did he hit the portal, he's going to Duke.
What is up with that?
Another big name was Owen Murphy during the 22 season. He 34 goals, was a real big shooter, but really never found his groove since. So he's in the portal. Don't be surprised to see him end up.
But they got a lot of guys too, right?
They did. So they got 6 guys coming inbound portals, a mix of some seniority, some age. A guy at Fairfield, a graduate student out of Fairfield, scored over 100 points combined the last 2 seasons. Big time shooter out of Stony Brook's come in. 2-time short stick defensive midfielder of the year in Division III.
None of that means anything to anybody.
Well, to you it does now, though. I'm just
It does
talking to
to
you,
me.
man. It's
It
just
does.
us, buddy.
I get it. Hey, let me ask you this. How about this? The plus or minus of the exits versus the people leaving versus people coming in.
Yeah, on the whole, overall, bit upgrades.
Okay, good. That's what we wanted to hear. Upgrades.
Final
And they
four
have a
again. Final four again.
good recruiting class too,
You
right?
do 3 5-star guys coming in and a lot of depth. And Coach Tillman's he's a magician. So Final Four again next year. Book it.
I'm going. Is it in Philly again?
It's up in Foxborough.
Oh, God.
There you go. Larry's out.
I don't know.
Stay in Providence. Providence is closer to Foxborough than Boston. Providence, one of the most underrated cities in the country. Great food town. Oh my God, it's amazing. Great food city. Lots to do. Awesome place to be.
All right, let's do it. Hey, you know what I was thinking? I usually end the show with some sort of like gimmick segment, like a game segment. For Colby, I had these over/under questions, but Coach came in and joined 15 minutes early. He was sitting there listening to us talk to Colby for about 7 minutes. Nice. You saw? I don't know. Can you see that?
No, I don't see when they come in. I only see me.
Oh, he was there for like 7 minutes, and I was like, do I keep going with Colby? Like, people want to hear basketball. A lot of people want to hear basketball more than want to hear football.
Yeah.
But Coach Friedgen is sitting there, like in the lobby, and I was like, okay. So I didn't give Colby his over-unders. I'm going to give them to you.
All right. Except the one about.
No.
All right.
I'm giving them all to you. Here we go. Minutes that Derek Queen and Julian Reese will be on the court together next season, over under 15 minutes.
Over?
Yeah. That means Derek Queen's probably playing more than 25-ish minutes then, because they'll be. I
think so. Yep.
Okay. All right. Number of championships basketball. Oh, we'll do football and basketball.
No, basketball.
Number of basketball championships Maryland will win in your lifetime, over under 0.5.
Under. Sorry, man.
It's painful. Yeah, I know.
You would have picked that too.
Yeah, I would. If I was being honest. Yeah. All right. Number of pieces of Lido pizza you can eat in one sitting. They're tiny squares, over under 10.
Man, I thought about this. Like, can I eat, or like, I mean, are we talking like, Joey Chestnut type stuff here, or like?
Yeah, can you eat? Yeah.
Oh, I could eat over 10 in one sitting, of course. Come on. What good Maryland fan could not eat over 10?
That's a good point.
Come on.
That's a good point. It was originally for Colby. He's like, fit Mr. Fitness.
Oh, so, I'm not? What are you trying to say, Larry?
All right.
He's young. We're old.
He's young. Yes. All right. The amount of money. Well, okay. I'm going to change this. I'm going to
see. This is the one I was like.
The amount of money it would take for you to agree to never watch another lacrosse game in your life, over under $1 million.
It would have to be over.
You would. $1 million is not enough
for
you to never watch lacrosse again.
No.
Okay.
I couldn't. You know what? Like, if I get that kind of money, I want enough money to put somewhere in some interest bearing that I could live off of and never have to work again. So it's got to be worth a while.
Okay. 10 million.
Oh yeah.
10 million you would do?
Because even conservatively, that'll kick off 300,000-400,000 a year in income, and that'll just be traveling.
Yeah. Okay. All right. But never watching lacrosse.
I'd be too busy traveling to places where you can't even watch it.
This one's going to be really funny. I was going to embarrass Colby and talk about how he's a young, strapping young man, and make him the rating that women would give him on a scale from 1 to 10, over under 7.5.
Well, give him?
Well, now it's got to be you.
Well, I mean, under. No. Look, I'm lucky I'm married. I'm lucky anyone, said yes to me.
Yeah, I couldn't wait to embarrass Colby about that, because he's very, like, he's very staid in a way, like, and very kind of like professional. And I was just going to try and throw him off. They're trying to throw 'em off.
me. If you had given an over under a 5, I still would have taken the under. So I mean,
Me too, man. Me too.
it's a miracle. Hey, but what the listeners don't know, Larry can sing. Women love musicians. I saw it. I saw it at a piano bar.
I can. Yeah.
Larry can sing.
Have we not talked about this story?
I don't think
we got to
so.
tell the story. We
All
got
right,
to tell.
so-
All right. Should me or you go? You go.
So, yeah,
and I'll throw in a little.
I meet Larry and another guy. Another family. We meet downtown in Philly. I get down there and I meet them at this like super old pub.
It's awesome.
Yeah, but I'm only there for like 2 minutes because the two of you are like, we got to get out of here.
We'd already eaten, is why.
We got to go. There was an NBA basketball game on. You guys like, we got to go. We got to go find a piano bar. There's a piano bar.
I found a piano bar
in one of in a gay bar in Philadelphia. We got to go.
Yeah.
We go to the one, and the woman's like, yeah, no, that's only on like, Tuesday nights or something. And she's like, but go check out this other place. So we go to this other place, and there's a piano bar, and they're only playing show tunes apparently.
Well, I knew that. That's what I was going for.
I know you were. And
so, listen. Every time I go to New York, there's it's called Health Kitchen. It's kind of it's the gay part of Times Square, and there's a bar there called Don't Tell Mama. It's a piano cabaret bar, and I go in, and they're just singing show tunes, and I'm generally the only straight guy there, and I love it. I love every minute of it.
Yeah, so we get Larry. I couldn't even tell you what song Larry sang because I don't know show tunes.
It's from Les Miserables.
But the dulcet tones of Lawrence France. The dude can sing. The dude can sing.
Well, listen. So my father's gay. I'll just say that. Like, okay, so I've grown up in that culture, and like from the time I was a teen, there would be times I'd be at parties where it was just I was the only straight person there, and then when I got old enough to go to bars, we would go to bars, and I'm just comfortable in that environment, and
it was fun.
Thing.
It was fun, I grew up in the DC area. My aunt and uncle lived by DuPont Circle, and at the time, DuPont was a big gay area, and same thing. I mean, it's a lot of fun. I mean, and everyone's awesome. Everyone's cool, and the bar was awesome.
I love it, man, because I love musical theater, and there are not a lot of people who love college football and musical theater. So
Larry the Unicorn.
Yeah. So it was a lot of fun. I sang Stars from Les Miserables.
I videotaped it, but we won't post it. Terp 2000 said he'd post it, but then he didn't. I think you were lucky on that one, Larry.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's fine, Hey, Dan from Queens in the chat said, "Don't tell Mama." An old friend of his runs it.
Oh, nice.
That's cool. I don't really know who the owner is, but what's cool about it is all the waiters and bartenders sing. So the piano guy's playing, and they'll be picking up the holding the mic, and they're like pouring a drink while they're ripping out like high C's, like and you can pay them. There's this one waitress there named Tara Martinez, and she is amazing. And every time I go, I pay her $20 to do a duet with me.
Well, that's what Larry was looking for. Larry was scoping out people that he was hoping. He was like, I need to find a woman who can do a duet with me, because he had another song lined up, but instead he called an audible and went up and went solo.
Yeah.
It was awesome, man.
I do. Yeah,
it was fun.
It was a lot of. I love the piano bar. It's a lot of fun. It's like karaoke on steroids.
Yeah, like I couldn't do it. So, man.
Anyway, that was a fun night, and the whole weekend. By the way, gotta go to lacrosse games, man. The tailgating. If you like football tailgating, you're gonna love. It's like 10% of the people. Actually, at the Final
game,
Four,
it was a lot bigger.
Huge, yeah. So if you love the tailgate culture, you got it in the spring, man. You got it, Maryland.
Look, it's spring training for football season, right? You got to get your tailgate going early and prepare properly.
Yep. Okay. I think we've exhausted everything at this point. I think we've exhausted everything. We had Colby on. He was great talking about the basketball team. and was pretty positive about it. He thinks they're going to be better this year. He didn't give quite. I was hoping he'd say, I was hoping he would say. He said they're about a first round to second round NCAA. I was hoping he'd say like, "Oh, we might have a sleeper Sweet 16 or Elite 8 team here." I was hoping for that. He didn't give that, but
you got to think that really comes down to someone like probably Queen, really having some kind of true breakout season. That if that happens, and he's talking about the scoring flexibility and having, the transfer from USF coming in and being just kind of like a real scoring threat. You never know, but it probably does take someone like Queen to really have kind of a special season that gives Maryland something that other teams kind of don't have in that kind of twin tower setup. So
yeah,
never know. But hey, after last year, wouldn't you take a first or a second round team?
If you're offering me that right now, yes,
absolutely,
of course, yeah.
I just want to be able to watch a full Maryland game again without just being furious.
Pissed off.
Furious.
Yeah. And then, of course, Coach Friedgen was awesome.
Yeah, he's the
stories. Like you saw him just go off on random tangents. And like I asked him about the game where Georgia Tech beat Maryland really badly. It turned into a 7-minute story about how he got hired by Tech.
Yeah, that was awesome though, right?
Yeah, it was awesome. That's what I'm saying. And that's what the entire series is like with him.
Definitely going to be a must watch, must listen.
Yeah. So the first one we're going to do next Monday, episode 1. There are 5 episodes. It's going to be quarterbacks and running backs. And at the end of it, if people are interested, I'll show them my spreadsheet too. It's pretty awesome. There's so much.
Look, Larry, are you into Power BI or Tableau? I mean, how you visualize and stuff? I mean, how advanced are the spreadsheet skills, my friend?
I do Power BI.
There you go.
I do Power BI. I do. I'm better with the spreadsheets, but I do Power BI also. Yep. All right. And now we've completely lost everybody. So Larry's a mini tab guy, I bet. Oh, I've got the mini tabs. All right. Yeah, he's right. He's got me, Mr. Popo. You got me on that one. All right. Hey, thank you for joining last minute when Paul had to call out. I don't know when we're going to do another episode because we're going to be airing this 5-part series over the next couple of weeks. I think we're doing Monday, Thursday, Monday, Thursday, Monday is what we decided would be cool. That would give everybody a few days to kind of watch each one and kind of absorb it before the next one comes out. So I think that's what our next 2 weeks are going to be, is that series coming out. And then after that, I think we're going to get back together again. Which
I'm going to make a prediction.
Yeah.
There will probably be an emergency podcast. Jeff's away, maybe enjoying family time. Smells like a 5-star football or basketball commit that will require an emergency
I'll take Malik Washington.
An emergency pod.
Yeah. That's possible too.
Yep.
If there's that, that's possible too. We could have that. But as of right now, the schedule is Monday, Thursday, Monday, Thursday, Monday for the 5 episodes of the Maryland All-Time Football Team with Coach Ralph Friedgen. And then I think after that, we'll probably have another live show in the July-ish time frame. And then we're getting kind of close.
Yep.
Then we're getting kind of close.
Awesome.
Season. All right.
Thanks for having me.
All right, everybody. Yeah, thanks for joining us. Thank you, everybody, for listening. We will see you guys next week. Look for those All-Time Maryland Football Team episodes starting next Monday. This is IMS Radio.